Hey guys, long time no see. For a while there, I was pretty consistent with uploading these Rainbow Brite videos, but then I kinda got lazy because the videos are a lot of work. Because I've actually had the drawing and the voiceover done since June, because I was hoping to get this next Rainbow Brite video out um, in time for Pride Month, because Rainbow Brite obviously has a special place in the LGBTQ plus community. Obviously, that did not happen. But I'm here and we're ready to go for the third episode of Rainbow Brite. Before I get into the notes that I had made, I do want to shout out friend of these videos, my cousin, Ruth, found me a vintage Rainbow Brite doll when she went thrifting in Omaha, Nebraska. And she's great. She needs like a little bit of work because her hair is yarn and she's a little stiff in some places. But she's like really good quality, as you can see. And she's been living on this bookshelf with the Lurky keychain I got from Five Below. And I found some like bracelets at Hot Topic. It's making a comeback, guys. I think I'm trendy, all right? I think I'm ahead of the trend. But let's get back into it because it's been a while. So in case you forgot, last time on Rainbow Brite, the character Rainbow Brite, originally called Wisp, was tasked by the disembodied female voice of God to make a wasteland into a beautiful world. And with the help of her magic belt, Twink, Starlight, and the Color Kids, she was able to defeat the evil King of Shadows and transform the wasteland into the magical rainbow land that we know and love. And she was named the ruler of this land by the disembodied voice of God, obviously. And the Color Kids, who were trapped in various parts of the world, follow the wearer of the belt. This was exposition in the first 2 episodes. There's only been one outsider that has ever visited Rainbow Land, which is an Earth boy named Brian. We know how I feel about Brian. And then somewhere between the beginning of Rainbow Land and the episode The Mighty Monstro Murk Menace, 700 years pass, which implies that the inhabitants of Rainbow Land, the Color Kids, the Sprites, Starlight, and Murky and Lurky, are immortal or unaging. So yeah, that's the magical world that Hallmark has put before us, and we are going to continue through this 13 episode series with the next 2 episodes. It's difficult to place these episodes in a timeline. They could happen at any point before or after the Brian saga. They don't mention Brian at all in these episodes, so it's unclear whether or not he's happened to them yet. And these next 2 episodes see the introduction of 3 more characters that aren't really addressed, which are the characters of Moonglow, Tickled Pink, and Stormy. They are not really Colored Kids, but they serve like a similar purpose. Moonglow does have her own dedicated episode explaining what her powers are, but the other 2 don't. And according to the Rainbow Brite Wikipedia, Tickled Pink is in charge of mixing star sprinkles into colors like aqua, magenta, and peach. And Stormy supposedly controls the weather. The characters Tickled Pink, Moonglow, and Stormy debuted in the movie Rainbow Brite and the Star Stealer, which I'm hoping to have my own dedicated like watch and dissection of at some point. But I can't hold myself to that anymore. But they don't have like an in-series introduction. And that is sort of my intro into these next 2 episodes. the invasion of Rainbow Land and Mom, which I'm very excited to show you guys. Let's get into it. We're going to do a brief chat about the drawing, like always. So I decided to make a shorter drawing for this video since usually the longer I spend on drawing, the larger the video files for my screen recording are, which makes them more difficult to edit since I'm speeding them up so quickly. So to simplify things, I did a screenshot redraw of one of the scenes from one of the 2 episodes I'm going to talk about today. I don't remember which one because they involve a lot of hiding in the bushes. The subjects of today's drawing are Murky and Lurky, the villains of the series. This was a request by fellow channel contributor, Chair. But it's actually pretty fitting because one of the episodes heavily features these characters. This episode is called Invasion of Rainbow Land.
Space, the final frontier.
We see a UFO flying towards the Earth. While on Earth, Rainbow, Starlight, and Twink are standing in the middle of a burnt-down forest, a la the Fantasia Firebird scene. And Rainbow magically revives this forest, even after saying that she doesn't think they'll be able to. Back over in Rainbow Land, the sprites are mining color crystals. And we watch a long, drawn-out, roller coaster-esque sequence of transporting these color crystals to the color castle. The crystals, once they reach the castle, are dispensed into a funny door with a face, and we watch the crystals get refined into star sprinkles in a factory. This is the Rainbow Brite edition of how it's made. And the color kids are overseeing the process, and they finalize every star sprinkle. This is the basis of the Rainbow Brite economy, is the transformation of, or refinement of, color crystals to star sprinkles, which make color happen. It's sort of the color natural resource. Then we see Murky and Lurky, and they steal some color crystals, and Murky puts them into his Gloom Transformer, which is his innator this episode. Because he's found a way to turn color crystals into something called rain crystals. Somehow this is going to thwart Rainbow Brite. Rainbow is writing back to Rainbow Land through space, obviously, and she notices that she's being followed by the UFO from the beginning. It recklessly flies towards them. Starlight narrowly avoids collision. The color kids run out to see what's going on when the UFO crash lands. Here marks the first appearance of the characters Stormy, Moonglow, and Tickled Pink, plus Stormy's horse, Skydancer. So a big mechanical eye comes out of the UFO and chases the kids, but don't worry, Rainbow to the rescue. Then out of the UFO steps Baby Yoda. He's not actually Baby Yoda, but I don't think he has a name. And so that's what he looks like to me. So he tells the color kids that something is wrong with his ship, and he's stuck there. Murky, hiding in the bushes off to the side, decides that he wants to steal the flying saucer. And it has something to do with Rainbow never being able to catch him once he has it. It's unclear once again what his thought process is, but whatever. So Shy Violet and Rainbow Brite board the alien ship. They ask him some questions about the ship, like, hey, where's the engine? And his understanding of the ship seems much similar to my understanding of an airplane. I couldn't really tell you where the airplane engine is. I don't really know. And so Shy Violet tasks herself with finding the engine. When they're done, Rainbow, Violet, and the alien come out of the ship, and Twink notices that the color has vanished from Rainbow's sleeve. And it turns out that the alien eats colors to get energy, and colors start quickly disappearing from Rainbow Land. It seems like the alien is absorbing the colors unintentionally. He keeps being like, I'm trying not to, but it still keeps happening. And so this is the kick in the pants that the color kids need to fix the ship, because without the colors, it sort of implies the end of Rainbow Land and the end of like everything. Rainbow says like if there aren't any colors, there won't be any us. And Shy Violet, with the sprites and color kids, quickly get to work. This statement kind of implies like a bit of a darker background to Murky's desire to eliminate colors. Like, does he want to eliminate the color kids? Is there some sort of weird ethnic cleansing happening? It's not addressed, but it definitely is something that stood out to me. So back to Murky and Lurky, who have been hiding in the bushes. They decided they're going to switch up their plan and they're going to stop the color kids from fixing the UFO. So the alien remains in Rainbow Land and consumes all the color, meaning the end of the color kids. Back on the ship, Shy Violet figures out how it runs, and it apparently, of course, it runs on color. And so the color kids go and gather a ton of star sprinkles. Murky and Lurky, again back in the bushes, decide they're going to kidnap the alien. And how do they do this? Well, Murky dresses in color kid drag, and Lurky hides under a pile of star sprinkles. They sneak onto the ship and fool Starlight, the horse, and they kidnap the alien using a butterfly net, because this is the 80s. So Shy Violet fixes the UFO, and the color kids decide to use the UFO to rescue the alien. Murky and Lurky drive out to the pits with the alien to hide out, but they crash. And the alien tries to throw himself in the river for the sake of Rainbow Land, because he keeps unintentionally absorbing these colors, which is a dark, dark turn from the rest of the episode. Then the alien is able to sap colors from Murky, which means that Murky himself has color, which is an interesting point. And then the color kids use star sprinkles to rescue the alien. And it sets off the gloom transformer, and that makes it rain in Murky's castle, allowing the alien to escape. And Rainbow Brite, the color kids, and the alien recolor Rainbow Land while the alien leaves on his spaceship. And that was the end of that episode. Happily ever after, I know. So I'm going to pause here and we're going to do like a little what have we learned section, since these next few episodes of the series involve a lot of weird implications that I think we need to just take a moment to talk about. So in this episode, we did see the economy of Rainbow Land, and it relies heavily on the mining of resources, specifically the color crystals. These resources are refined in the color castle and turned into star sprinkles. The process is overseen by the color kids, but it is carried out by the sprites, which I think implies a species class distinction, which is unclear, because the sprite Twink does not participate in the mining. He just like walks around and usually yells at the other sprites. But Twink is also the only sprite that can speak English. I usually don't play the clips where the sprites are talking because they are super annoying. It's a bunch of like gibberish sounds. But Twink is the only one that can actually talk. And the color kids seem to be able to understand the sprites, but they don't speak the sprites' language. It's kind of like a Chewbacca Han Solo thing from Star Wars, where they have conversations, but they're not speaking the same language. So that's the economy part of the world. But we also learned that the existence of the color kids is directly tied to the amount of color in Rainbow Land. I don't know what this implies, but it does make sort of the actions of Murky and Lurky a little more nefarious, because it involves murdering like 7 people, at least. And of course, we also learned that Rainbow Land can be accessed via space. Whether this is important, I'm not sure. but it is an interesting fact. Our next episode is where things get really weird, at least in my opinion. The episode is called Mom. We start in the Color Castle, and we watch the Color Kids do their ever so important button pressing. And Twink is crashing out, he's running around. Apparently, it's the first day of spring, which is a very busy time for Rainbow Land. It definitely is giving like first day of spring in Pixie Hollow kind of vibes. Murky and Lurky are doing more bush hiding, and they mention something called a misery machine. But we're going to ignore that because Rainbow and Starlight are overseeing the Rainbow Land on like a cliff, and they watch a minivan airplane fly over Rainbow Land and land near them. And bum ba da bum, a woman comes out. Back in the pits, Murky is working on his misery machine, and he says that it's going to turn the star sprinkles gray and grungy so they won't make colors anymore. This is where the doorbell rings. Lurky answers the door, and we see the same woman who got out of the minivan airplane from earlier. It's Murky's mother. And we get to see where Murky gets his amazing personality. It gets revealed that Murky's mother is there because her son never called her, and she immediately barges in and insults his home and his life choices. We learned that Murky's full name is Murkwell, and at some point we see Rainbow gallop away with Starlight and Twink, presumably to Earth. Rainbow is the one that directed Murky's mother to where Murky lived, which is really funny. Well, I guess it's not really that funny, but it's amusing. So Murky lies to his mother and tells her that he's a big shot and makes Lurky dress up like a butler. And we get to see baby pictures of Murky, and he had a mustache as a baby, which is really cute. The mom wants to make some curtains to spruce up Murky's home, and she reminisces on how much Murky used to love colors as a child. Here we get a flashback with baby Murky drawing on the walls, and his mom freaks out and tells him that he's going to clean the color off the wall, even if it takes him his whole life. Major backstory drop alert. Sigmund Freud who? Murky has mom issues. And his desire to destroy colors is heavily implied to come from this moment in his childhood. So we can blame Murky's mom for everything. So anyway, Murky takes his mom for a car ride to distract her from all of his lies. And his mom tells Murky that he needs to find a nice girl to settle down with, like the one who showed her where the pits were, which is Rainbow Brite, which is crazy for a mother to say. So Murky drives into Rainbow Land and everyone runs away, and Murky continues to lie to his mother about being in charge. He crashes his car into Color Castle with Lurky and his mom, and everyone runs away, and he performs a coup way too easily. They destroy the star sprinkles by dipping them into a bucket of the misery juice and send them up into the sky on the first day of spring, ruining everything. How will we ever get back from this point? I don't know. And the Color Kids are just standing outside and they say some exposition to each other. And the only way to get a message to Rainbow is via the color console inside the castle. And they see the misery star sprinkles leave the castle. So Red Butler and Stormy decide that they're going to go in and swap the misery bucket of juice and stuff with a normal bucket of water. And of course, Lurky doesn't notice because he's stupid. And Murky's mom ends up getting mad because Murky is making things smoky and dirty and gross. And with Murky distracted, Red Butler and Stormy are able to swap out the buckets. Murky then decides that his mom is getting in his way, big surprise, and asks her to go shopping and bring back star sprinkles. He tells her that she can just ask the color kids for star sprinkles. And the kids completely go along with it because that's going to help send their message to Rainbow on Earth. Because the bucket of water continues to go unnoticed and Rainbow arrives. Murky's mom, because she's not an idiot, eventually catches on to what's happening, and she joins the color kids in chasing Murky out of the color castle. Rainbow then takes Murky's mom to the pits, and Murky's mom thwarts him by hitting Murky with a feather duster. And Rainbow rides into the sun, leaving Murky with his abusive mother to hash things out. And that is the end of that episode. So what did we learn here? Well, we learned Murky's hatred for colors stems from a very complicated relationship with his mother, which began in early childhood. It seems that Murky and Murky's species is not completely unaging because he was once a baby and his mother is clearly older than him. If you would remember, I had theorized that Murky was incredibly old, like at least 700 years old, because of the Mighty Monstromurk episode. So seeing him as a baby sort of shows that, yes, they can age, and Murky's mother is still around, so like there is someone older than Murky that is around him. So that just sort of implies that they're not really people. They're definitely some other species. Maybe aliens because they live in space. Rainbow Brite is maybe unaging because Murky's mom seems to think that she was a good romantic option for Murky, implying that they could be the same age. Or like Murky's mom could view them as the same age. So Rainbow Brite probably isn't human either. Well, no one's human in this series except for maybe Brian. And we all know how I feel about Brian. Another thing that we've learned from this is literally whenever Rainbow Brite goes somewhere, something bad happens. And the color kids stand around and do nothing. It is way too easy to perform a coup in Rainbow Land, which implies a weak leadership, and something might go wrong with this system. I'm not making any predictions because I've seen all of the episodes, but man, this is just one bad situation away from a horrible day for all the sprites. Something to think about. Anyways, that's it for this. Let's get back to the drawing.
When you meet a new friend, it opens up a world. A world whose brightness never ends. It opens up a world. There are rainbows to be found there. If you just take a look around there, making brand new friends. So that shining light in every face shines for all to see to make the world a brighter place. Rainbow bright and be so.
You meet a brand new friend, it opens up a world. Wow, that was super cool. And a really great analysis that I made a few months ago. I would say that the next episode is, on its way, but I don't know that. I don't want you to expect the next episode soon, because honestly, they're a lot of work and very tedious to do. And I have some other ideas for things that I want to do that are not necessarily Rainbow Brite related. But, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for some other fun videos. Take a look at other videos that people have posted. And we're cranking out that content for you. Kind of, not really. Yeah, and stay tuned for other fun Jackie adventures for the upcoming months.